stage name is Ethereal. Most people can't pronounce it, so I ain't gonna forget you if you don't try. I'm a performance poet, a writer, a self-published author. I've been doing poetry and spoken word for almost 10 years now. I started touring about 4.5 years ago, and I wrote my first book when I was 18. It's like poetry has really taken me quite a few places. I've got to meet some really interesting individuals. I got to have some really awesome conversations with people from all across the country, from all different walks of life. So I think I'm going to do a poem called If You Don't Know Where You're Going. Because like Black History Month is all about finding identity and culture, and poetry is one of the things that I had to use to find my own. So, if you don't know where you're going, any route will get you there. From Beavis to Venus, strangers will butt heads over remotes controlled by the poles. And the souls of my soul walk 1,000 miles to be sold, not sown. See, pins and needles were made to be walked on. Because eggshells are too slippery, and when those shells crack, I hear a symphony of harmonic entities traveling through your brain waves for days until you realize that you weren't even listening in the first place, and you never ran that race or were in first place because you were from a different space, where time and the mind became one, and Trayvon Martin was my son, and Malcolm, little did he know that it shaped my past so much so that my future's become undone, but I've been breathing songs. And I've been seeing poems to make my pen strong. I'd rather be wrong than to right for the night when I lose my sight and I realize that I left behind the right to write my life the right way with the leftover words I used to say for the me I used to be before we became us. A poet in his pen, married through lust and the want for the soft touch of paper, a hole so dead in my soul, so I'm gonna fight to the death, right to the death, because I want to die by lyrical injection. See, as a poet, I write such sickness to spit with a quickness. I mean, my pen clips, we whip clips from holster to harness. Rep never tarnished. See, the poet precedes the person on the page. From the page to the stage with words composed in arrays commensurate with sentiment sympathetic to aesthetics. So forget it. I want you to forget your last tear. Forget your last heartbreak and reinvent a better you. Thank you. Get out of your hair. If that's cool, say cool. Cool. I like it. Y'all actually with me. All right. So I applied for a job a few years back, and the letter that I got from the employer denying my application actually said a whole lot of nothing except, we're not going to hire you because you're black. Now that's so many words, but that's basically was the gist of the letter. It was like my qualifications were just as high as everybody else I was competing against, and I had to go home and write about it. And it came out something like this. For those who believe in equal opportunity, you have to discern, then dismiss your own prejudice. Right? That makes sense? For those who believe in equal opportunity, you have to discern, then dismiss your own prejudice. So don't ask me about my nationality on an application for employment when you yourself are desperate for a helping hand. As if the fact that the percentage of my melanin just happens to be about 1/3 higher than yours, and 95% of African Americans make up only 1/3 of yours higher. It's your decision to make while our family's scraping our plates, yet some say that the hunger helps them to see clearly. So they're quick to fast, yet slow to pray, not knowing the slow prey get caught by quick predators who prey on and pray long for the insight to see the weakest of the herd. And you leave in King's Lane forgetting the weakest poem you've heard, yet what if? What if that one weak poem was the one that 1 week from now saves your life, saves you twice? You're afraid to take a gamble, yet you're already rolling the dice. It's the snake eyes that see the precious jewels your lives couldn't. They can taste it and sense it. Since it was designed for Satan to slither on the ground, they didn't have to stay blind, yet they folded you like origami was a new black art. Taking black art off the centerfold and putting a huge crease in progress. And the man behind it says, no, it's not me. No more corporations not down with that Illuminati, but throwing stones at someone else's home will never make you royals. Especially when it lays claim to your land and charges you royalties for being in your own home, losing your self-esteem and or your life for street loyalties. The ghetto is in each and every one of us. So am I out for my cotton picking my birds, and pick my best poems at home? The industry is a new plantation. Sharecropping these microphones is the quickest way to get nowhere. So we throw Boston Tea parties and toss our insecurities over the side of the ship because we're harboring fugitive thoughts. We're accessories after the fact to our own homicide. We ride that line between free and slave through a 450-year memory about what being black used to mean, and we use that as a jacked up excuse to excuse our mistakes, but to exclude our escape from what society says we should be. It's that slave mentality being modified to ensure that it will arise in each and every one of us. So we fight it. Cast the first stone and riot outside the Atlantic for the first and 15th emancipation. Proclaim that. Lay claim to rap. Remove your foot from its bear trap before these carnivorous media cats snatch your whips and your chains and your back in the field. So the harvest time used to be a celebration. Now we're fighting segregation between real MCs and this new nation of ignorance who don't mind being strange fruit swinging from trees like monkeys, and I'm curious to know how many of these writers and rappers really wouldn't care if their labels beat them until they were black and yellow, looking like a piece of strange fruit. Thank you all.